With the fall season approaching, my girlfriend suggested we make a daily October activity list. One of those activities was watching Kiki's Delivery Service, a classic Studio Ghibli movie that left a lasting impact on me. The main themes of the story hitting home, and especially the final scene of the movie. This movie is just beautiful in the art, the music, and the story of Kiki. Let's see why this movie is perfect for you during the fall season. The movie follows the life of a young girl named Kiki, and it's her 13th birthday. As all movies and shows about witches, their 13th birthday is very important because this is the time of her training commencing. She is very nervous and anxious to start her training, that she wants to leave at night because there's a full moon going on right now. Her parents try and stop her, but she says it's the perfect time to leave because of this full moon going on. So she gets sent off by her friends and family on her broom. She takes her best friend Gigi, who's a cat, and it's probably my favorite character of the story just because of the lines he has in the story. It's pretty funny. As this is happening in the story, I kept asking questions like, is she going to a witch's academy to study? Does she have a certain witch power like the other girl she met in the story? And where is she going? What the fuck? This was making me freak out because this girl is only 13 years old and she's going into the world by herself. Like, what the heck, you know? She has no real destination at 13, and I myself was freaking out for her a lot. She soars through the skies, her face beaming with hope, filled with dreams of what lies ahead. Then she arrives at a sea city and watches the horizon. In awe, Kiki decides this is the perfect city where she's gonna start her story and her journey. I would just like to point out that this was created in 1989. The art and the animation is so visually pleasing and feels so homey. We get to see the whole city with Kiki flying around it and building the world we're going to be in for the film. It's at this point in the story when I realized that Kiki's gonna be alone for her training as a witch. And if this was me, man, I'd be so freaked out. And it's crazy how composed she kind of is. After landing, she kind of does feel alone because she sees the big city and all the people just walking around going to do their business, and it's kind of overwhelming for her. She even introduces herself to random citizens on the road, and they just stare at her like, what? Like, you're a witch, okay, whatever, and they just keep on going about their day. It's pretty funny. But funny enough, one of her first interactions is with a cop because she's flying her broom recklessly around the city, and he tries to ticket her. I think he was about to call her parents or ticket her, but then another crime starts to happen because we hear someone in the background screaming for help. So we see the cop is forced to leave Kiki and go see what's going on the other side of this crime, but Kiki escapes when she's told not to. And all this was set up just so Kiki can escape because there's a young boy named Tumbo who saw Kiki flying on her broom, and he's really fascinated by her and her flying. We later see in the story that he's just fascinated by flying in general and the idea of it. He even wants to make planes and all types of stuff like that. So we see that she's actually been saved by this young boy. But she doesn't really thank him because she's kind of awkward and she doesn't know what to say. And the boy is kind of like really excited to see her. So she gets flustered and she just leaves. Doesn't really thank him. It's pretty funny. Kiki is watching the city when she sees that a young lady has a pacifier in her hand and she couldn't give it to the mother it belongs to. Kiki thinks to herself she can help with it. We see the lady in the distance that the pacifier belongs to, and Kiki sees what's going on and she decides, I can help these people. I can actually fly with my broom and get this to the lady. So that's exactly what she does. She gets the pacifier and she flies with it to deliver it to the mother so the baby doesn't cry a lot. Kiki does this good deed and gets the good karma back because the lady who had the pacifier is an owner of a bakery shop. Her name is Usuno. She tells Kiki she can stay in her extra room if she helps her around the shop a little bit. And Kiki catches a big break here. We see her working right away at the shop and trying to save every penny she can get. She jokingly even tells Gigi that they need to save up money to get better food because if they keep on eating pancakes for the rest of their lives, they're gonna be getting fat. Of course, Gigi does not object to the idea of eating pancakes for the rest of his life. Then, a great idea is brainstormed for Kiki. She can deliver for people of the city. She basically realizes she can deliver for the people in the city, whether it be the big goods or just things that people need to get across the city that they can't really get there right on time. And this is a really exciting moment for her because she's finally finding her place in this city and using her witch powers to help people. But with all things that come, there's challenges and obstacles, and we see her lose her first delivery item when she gets blindsided by a burst of wind in the sky. She actually doesn't realize that she lost the item. It's Gigi who looks into the cage and sees there's no stuffed animal of a cat in there because the delivery item was a cat that looks exactly like Gigi, by the way, and it's not there anymore. So Kiki comes up with an idea to use Gigi as a decoy until she returns. And these scenes are really funny because Gigi's delivered as a toy and he has to play like a toy, and there's a dog in the household and he's terrified of it, and the kid's just an animal. So it's pretty funny seeing Gigi's interactions trying to survive him being a decoy. She gets very lucky because the toy falls at a house in the forest, and it's the house of an artist named Ursula. Ursula and Kiki end up making a deal together. Once the deal was complete, Kiki gets the toy back and is able to go and switch Gigi out of being a fake toy. This is one of those moments where we see the type of person Kiki is. She is someone who is able to come up with a plan B on the spot, and Kiki is someone who's able to move past the little rut in the road, because she could have easily given up, gone to the house and said, hey, I kind of lost your toy, and owned up to it. But she said, no, I'm gonna get this toy delivered no matter what, and she ends up doing that. We also see her selfless in the story too, when this old lady wants to deliver a special treat for her granddaughter's birthday. Except when Kiki arrives to the house, she realizes that the grandmother has not baked anything. She's not able to bake anything because she's kind of having trouble doing it, and selflessly Kiki volunteers to help her bake the cake dessert when she did not have to. Not only this, she actually decides to clean around the house and do chores for her as the dessert is baking in the fire pit. I point this out because I think it's important to help one another in this life. Sometimes the random acts of kindness you do for someone can really make their day, week, or even month. Then we see Kiki's ferocity as she starts her journey to deliver this baked good for the birthday of the granddaughter. Here we see a storm coming, and the storm actually hits Kiki as she's trying to deliver this package. And honestly, I have no idea how she delivers this package because the water was crazy, the wind was crazy. I don't know if there was lightning, there probably was. But if it was me, I would have been like, oh hell no, I'm not gonna risk my life doing this. But she ends up delivering the package, and it's an ungrateful girl. The granddaughter's an ungrateful person. She basically scoffs because she sees the package. She's like, oh, this again, like fuck this. Kiki flew in the rain, and she gets sick of this. This is where a lot of things start to change because she ends up getting sick. She stops using her broom completely, and during this time, Gigi found a partner, if you know what I'm saying, and just completely stops talking to Kiki too. So she's basically losing parts of her identity as she gets sick, which is pretty messed up. And eventually she gets back on her feet and delivers something. She ends up finding out it's for Tombo, and she actually talks to him, and they actually have a great time too when they use his bike to ride across the city. And then she sees the ungrateful bitch. That's right, I said it, the ungrateful bitch from before. She sees her because Tombo's friends want to go see the blimp, and they invite Tombo to go see it, and Kiki sees in the distance that it's that ungrateful bitch from earlier, and she's like, you know what, I kind of don't want to hang out with y'all anymore, I'm out of here, and it ruins her vibe. And I completely understand, because if you see someone that you don't like, you don't want to hang out with those people. She comes back home to the thing she finds a lot of pride in, which is her witch abilities, and she sees she lost them. Then she starts to eat food and tries to talk to Gigi, but Gigi just starts talking to her completely. Like, she tries conversing, nothing. And this is where her entire life basically comes crashing down. I would say this is the part of the story where we can relate to a lot, because we see the slump Kiki gets in right after she was just starting to figure out everything. She was finally having a successful delivery business, but then everything comes crashing down. And then we get to one of my favorite moments in the story. Kiki gets a visit from Ursula, the lady who had the first delivery item, the toy cat, and she is here to save her basically. She says, let's get out of here and not worry about the shop for a bit. And of course, Usuno, being very supportive, says, yeah, get out of here, take some time off. And Kiki and Ursula basically just hang out. They basically just talk. Kiki explains how she lost her witch's abilities, and Ursula says, oh, I kind of know how you feel, because some days you lose that touch or magic for the things we do. And Ursula's basically talking about when she's making art, sometimes she loses that touch, that magic, and she can't draw for days. She doesn't stress about it. So when Kiki sees this and she asks what she does to change that, and Ursula says she does nothing. She doesn't stress about it, and she just goes on with her day. She just goes for walks, makes food without thinking about it too much, and just basically lives out her day without it stopping her or affecting her too much. She believes her magic touch for being an artist will come back to her. The next couple of scenes, they do exactly what Ursula says. We see scenes of them going out for walks in nature, and we see Ursula baking, I think, a pancake for them, and they just hang out and talk, and they don't really stress about Kiki and her losing her witch's abilities. This next scene, they start talking about spirits. The artist spirit, who's Ursula, the witch's spirit, who's Kiki, and the baker spirit, of course, who's Usuno. Ursula thinks that they were given powers by God, and sometimes you suffer for it. As we see, Kiki can fly a broom, but sometimes she has off days and she can't fly a broom for some reason. But just because this happens doesn't mean that you lose your mind over it. You gotta constantly keep pushing and believe that you'll eventually get to where you want to be. And this is where we see Kiki is ready to head out back into the world again, and is told by Usuno that the old lady wants to see her again. Kiki arrives at the house, but she's surprised because the old lady actually baked a cake for Kiki, and Kiki feels very appreciated, especially after everything she's done and been through. As we see Kiki and the old lady sharing this cute moment together, the old lady has this maid and she's watching TV, and on the TV we see this incident going on in the city, and there's the blimp that we see earlier with Tumbo and his friends that they're gonna go explore. But we see the blimp is basically trying to fly away from where it's stationed, and everyone's trying to pull it back down, but there's no success. And Tumbo is seen on the TV, and he ends up getting picked up away by the blimp by a string. Kiki of course freaks out and runs out of the house immediately to go save him. And this is where I felt really tense watching, because Kiki is being asked of herself to save her friend when her powers have not been working. She's needed to believe in herself, because if she's not, then she won't be able to save her friend, and in the grand scheme of things, she might not be able to make it as a witch in the city. She runs through the roads trying to find where Tumbo is. She basically borrows a broom from this random man and tries her absolute best to focus on flying. The animation of her focusing and the wind going crazy on her face and her hair and her clothes is pretty crazy, and it's pretty nice. And we see her say fly. Of course, she goes up, starts to fly a little bit, but she's a little rusty. She kind of crashes a bit onto the buildings. But during this time in the movie, I generally thought she was not going to be able to save Tumbo. I felt so tense watching this part of the movie, and it honestly caught me by surprise. I didn't think I was gonna get so invested into it. We see the blimp crash into a building and start to deflate, and then we see Tumbo is somehow still holding on for dear life, because the blimp's like this, the building's here, and Tumbo's on the string like this, and they crash like this. I don't know how my man's still alive from hitting that, but he's somehow still holding onto the rope for dear life. Here we see Kiki fly in and struggle to grab his hand. Tumbo falls, and the movie goes completely silent, and Kiki flies down and is able to catch him. It was so close, but she managed to save him, and the crowd erupts, and we feel a sense of ease from seeing her save him. I really enjoyed this last scene, because it was up until the last moment Kiki was finally able to believe in herself. Of course, she was brave for going to rescue him, but I think her saving him really established a sense of relief, because she also gets a sense of confidence for herself. Why do I think you should watch Kiki's Delivery Service? Kiki's Delivery Service was a movie that I grew really fond of because of the main character, Kiki. She is someone I really related to, because she was able to find her way in the city as a witch. She is kind to everyone she meets and has this determination to make it in the world. But in the back of her mind, something lingers, and that is, are you good enough and you do not fit in? And these things just make her feel very pessimistic. These statements, I'm sure, have popped up in all of our heads at some point in our life and can really affect us completely. But as these thoughts pop into her head, she tries her absolute best to still help others. We even see Kiki lose her pride in her delivery service, because she loses her abilities after getting sick. And this is where I really enjoyed the movie's direction. It was not going to be easy for her to make it as a witch, just because it's a kid's cartoon. Thankfully, she has friends and people who care for her, like Ursula, to talk during her downtime. She was able to relax for a day or two and really just refresh her mind out of all this stress. Then a huge conflict appears in the story, which was Tumbo stuck on the rope, and this is where she really has to believe in herself, which she does. These scenes felt really tense for me, and maybe because I thought she was not going to be able to hack it. It's a brilliant story of a witch who's trying to make it in the world, finding her own confidence in doing so. I really enjoyed this movie more than I thought I would, and I think it's because of me connecting to the character in the sense of believing in myself too. I highly encourage all of you to watch this story for the fall. You will not regret it. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun making this video and actually got really passionate while I was making this video, so I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah guys, I just want to say I go live on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 p.m. CST, and with the release of Black Ops 6 coming out, I'll be streaming that as well, so make sure you stay tuned in. Link in my description. I will see you on the next one, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Every like, every comment, every sub, it means a lot to me from the bottom of my heart, and I'll see y'all later, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and peace, everybody.